Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So guys, we have done EC2 till now and it is almost complete. So I will be giving you a little overview about all the options we have in our EC2 service. So let's and meanwhile, if anyone have any doubt in EC2, just drop it into the chat section or just let me know and I'm giving you overview. So first we have our EC2 and then when we click on the service, we just come to our dashboard page and over here we get a lot of information like how many instances are running and each and everything you can see. And there are other options also, EBC encryption, zones, and other things you can see in this dashboard. We are in Mumbai region and zone related information is also present. So if you have snapshot, it will show you how many have and each and everything it is visible over here. We have seen if you want to see a global view, sometime what happen that you have instances or different services running in different regions. So sometimes you tend to forget like which region you were working in your previous class or whenever you were working in console. So sometimes this happen. So you can go into your global dashboard and you can look how many instances and which services on a global region are running in under your name, under your account. So it will give you other information also. Just take a look. Now coming back to the third option, what we have events. It is you okay. For third option we have it's loading. Let's wait. So we haven't done anything in this yet, but it just event configuration. So if you want information about this, you can check out instance events. AWS can schedule events for your instance, such as reboot, stop, start, or retirement. So if you want some events that you want to schedule that on a particular time you want your instances to be reboot or some patch update, so you can event, you can uh, name that event and you can run it automatically. Then coming onto the next tab, we have instances, and we worked on it. We have uploaded, we have launched Windows instances, we have launched Linux, Amazon Linux instances. So I don't think any one of you should have doubt in this. And we have discussed instance type. There are different instance type. We mainly work in the lower memory T T2 type because it is the general purpose machine. So for our work, it is best suitable, but there are other different type and we have discussed that. Then templates is specifically if you want to launch a template that is provided by the AWS, you can launch it from here. You can look for yourself. So there are many options. If you want further information, you can click on the documentation and then you can understand more about this. So it just simply in this template you have specific permission policies in force and some configuration already done by the AWS, and you can simply just launch it and you will have a specific working in your EC2. Then spot, we have discussed these type of instances, and I remember one of you asked a question, and you can visit sport, basically we are bidding for the services, and now if we are in the Amazon EC2 service, that means we are bidding for Amazon EC2. So you can look out, there are proper, you have to do proper prediction, proper uh, matching, that is it the right price, are you not paying, are you paying the good price. So each and everything you have to analyze. So before that, I will suggest you that if you want further information, you can visit this page, simply into your Amazon sports section. You can look into this page if you want further information. Okay, so over here, saving plans is just different plans Amazon pushing you through, so you can buy it, so you can select accordingly. Reverse instances, so we have seen what is this. If you want to reserve something for a specific purpose, so if you want some instances that work for over a period, over a 1 year time period, so you will reserve an instance for 1 year, because you want your EC2 machine available to you for 1 year without any uh, amperage, without any trouble. So there are other section dedicated hosts. You can, so right now we don't have any dedicated hosts. So we have discussed this topic also, dedicated hosts, when we are dedicating some instances for a specific uses. So let's say we are running a web server and we set up a web server, and our EC2 is now responding to all the requests our web page is generating. So in that particular cases, we have dedicated hosts. Capacity and reservation, there's another section, and let it load. So over here you can see different capacity and reservation you can make. So it is talking about compute and the service, which is EC2. So we have seen AMI, we have created AMI. It is a way to backing up your instances and your data in your volumes also. So if there are different catalogs, so these are the brand new images. So if you launch, it is just like you are launching a brand new instance. But if you have your own AMI, it will start showing up in here, and you can select that AMI, and then your whole system will back up, because you have restored the backup and you are maintaining the AMI. So it is another important function. Volume, if you want some additional block storage, you can add volume. So you can add, it is also chargeable. So all the services are chargeable. You can sell go and see on the Amazon website what is the charges, very minimum charges. Snapshot, regarding snapshot, guys, I got an email that I have exceeded 85% limit of my free tire regarding the service of snapshot. So okay, so there is a limit on each and every service in your free tire, so make sure that you do not exceed that, reminding you again. Then snapshot is another way of backing up and restoring data. We majorly use snapshot for backing up our volumes, but from our snapshot, we can convert the snapshot into a AMI image and then launch the image, and then our data will be recovered. Life cycle manager, if like it's a automation process of creating snapshot. If you have a policy that you want that you want to maintain snapshot backup of every year of your instances, so of your volume and data, then automatically you can set this up, and you can set this policy by the help of lifecycle manager. So it is yet another a very useful service. So you can check this out by yourself. It's not included right now. Network and security group. We discuss about security group. Right now we are part of a default security group because we are in the because we are accessing EC2 instances, and we are right now uh, sitting in our console. So we need to be part of some cloud structure. Okay, this topic, elastic IP. So we will discuss this topic in detail for today. Elastic IP is like a static IP. So static IP, I am sure every one of you know what is a static IP. Static IP doesn't change. So elastic IP is nothing, just another name for static IP. So what is the use of elastic IP? Let's say I want to set a web server, and for that I want a permanent IP for this. I don't want that IP to be changed. Why? Because I want my client and whoever visiting my website, I want them to hit the same IP every time they are visiting my website. So what can I do? I can register a static IP, elastic IP against that EC2 web server. Yes, like a static IP. It work exactly like a static IP. So it will not change, and that's why we want to use that. If you want some services, for example, we can use it for gateway. So while using this service, I will demonstrate this to you in lab, and you will get a clear picture. But one another thing I want to tell you, uh, it is by default we have public IP available to us. But if you want elastic IP, you can allocate an elastic IP for yourself by here, and there are different options you will get, but only one is allowed to you in this free tier. And if you allocate like two IPs to yourself, then it will start charging. And if you allocate yourself a IP, and if you not associate this IP with some service, let's say EC2 or some gateway, if you are not using this IP, then also it will cost you. If it's just you are not using it, if you are just allocating it this if you are just allocating elastic IP and you are not using it onto any instance or to any gateway or in any service, what it means that it will charge you. But if you have allocated an elastic IP and you are using it into an EC2 instance, then one elastic IP is free in tired. But if you allocate another one, then it will cost you. So you will have a clear picture when you start visiting the Amazon website and start looking into the limits. What are the limits, and what are the services, and what are the limits of those services that are allowed in free tier. So we have discussed elastic IP, and I will give you a broader picture and on elastic IP to you. But let's move further. Group, we have discussed group placement. Group, you can place different group into different in this region, and you can give like provide them different strategies, and you can work according to you can give them IDs, and you can make a systematic working for them. So if you want some instance to be a part of a group, and you want that group to perform a particular activity on a particular time, then you can decide that from here. Key pair, we have win key. If you want further information, just visit the option, or like what are the different things you can do. uh, Key pair, we have discussed this. If you want to RDP your EC2 instance, then you need a secure key. Then network interface. Right now, we don't have any network interface. Network interface is just is the interface, a gateway from where we will visit the network, the different routing table we have. So load balancing, another network interface is another important topic, and load balancing and auto scaling. So before doing the network interface and load balancing, we need to understand a different other topic and do some theory work. So for now, this is the overview of EC2.
So can you show us
And
how to use that elastic IP?
yes, yes, definitely. I will be assigning it to an EC2 instance. But it is a very small topic. For that, creating an instance and then giving it the IP, uh, it will just uh, it will just create cluster. What I will do, our next lab is about VPC, and when we will be configuring VPC, then I will let you know how to use the elastic IP also. Okay, in this that lab we will conclude this. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yes, it is very easy. You just have to configure an IP and you will get a free elastic IP, and then you just have to assign it to a system, a EC2, a VPC, a gateway. It is according to your choice. You just have to assign it. If you are not assigning it, then it just line into your, like, under your account. It is lying there, so it will cost you charge. Okay, so right now you have not been charged because we are using the public IP address. We are That's the dynamic IP address, and if you have any elastic IP under your account, then it will show into the elastic IP tab. So you can see in the EC2 we also have the elastic IP section, and in our VPC we also have a tab for elastic IP. And you can see right now we don't have any elastic IP, so that's why it is showing nothing. So VPC dashboard, go, you can see many of the things are like the instance. You are getting a lot of option in the left hand side, and just give me a moment, guys.
All right.
Yes, guys, I'm sorry. I was just grabbing some water. Okay, now coming back to the VPC, there are different options onto your left hand side, and you can see. So this one is very important. And if you guys are not familiar with the subnetting, I will suggest you to watch some videos or maybe to read some blog about subnetting. It is a very important topic. So before doing the lab, we have to understand some basic theoretical working of VPC, subnetting, and routing table internet gateways. So different thing which are the part of the VPC, we have to understand the theoretical part also. So okay, let's come to this. Okay, so now are the slide visible to you guys right now?
Visible.
Okay, so we have discussed elastic IP, and I will demonstrate this in lab to you when we will be configuring our VPC. So let's understand what is elastic IP. And elastic IP is a public IP address which is reachable from the internet. Okay, it is a public IP and static. If your instance does not have a public IP address, you can associate an elastic IP address with your instance. So by default, automatically you get a public IP whenever you are creating an instance. And when we want some instance that are not, visible to public, and that they are not allowed to communicate onto the public network. Okay, sorry guys. So elastic IP with your if you have some instance, and automatically it will get an public IP address. But if you are configuring an instance into your private cloud, let's say if you want some instance that are not going to communicate on the public network, and you want them to be in your private network, then also you can associate a elastic IP with them. Then what will happen, they will not be accessible by the public IP. Either you will be accessing them by the help of the private IP and by the help of the other configurations. So in case of elastic IP, you just have to remember that it is a static IP. And if you want that some of your service or some of your service, let's say our EC2 instance, our desktop, our network gateway, you want them to have a fixed IP. In those cases, what will you do, you will assign them an elastic IP, because you don't want their IP to be changed. Okay, an elastic IP with your instance to enable communication with the internet, for example, to connect your instance from your local computer. AWS currently do not support uh, elastic IP address for IPv4. Okay, I haven't rechecked this fact. So give me some time. If I get a chance, I will recheck and let you know. Okay, to use an elastic IP address, you first allocate one of your account, and then associate it with your instance on a network interface. So this is the process. First, what you do, you first allocate one elastic IP, and then you associate with your instance or your network interface. If you are not associating the IP, only just allocating the IP, then also it will cost you. And if you are allocating more than one IP and associating it with the multiple instances and network interfaces, then in this case also it will cost you. Okay, when you associate an elastic IP with an instance or its primary network interface, the instance public IPv4 address is released back. So when we are assigning a elastic IP to our instance, then it means that the public IP address it used to has will be released. Then it only has the IP elastic IP. Then it will not have the public IPv4 address. The public IPv4 address will be released back into the Amazon pool. You cannot reissue a public IPv4 address. Elastic IP, you can disassociate an elastic IP address from a resource and reassociate it with different resource. So as we only have one elastic IP allowed in free tier, what we will be doing, we will be disassociating one IP address from one resource and reassociating with to the another resources because it is possible. A disassociated elastic IP address remain allocated to your account until you explicitly release it. Again, guys, remember, if you even if you disassociate your elastic IP, it will still under your account, under your name. That's why if you are not using it for any instance or any interface, it will still cost you. To ensure efficient use of elastic IP addresses, we impose a small hourly charge of an elastic IP and is not associated with a running instance. You can see it is mentioned, if an elastic IP is not associated with running instance, there are charges. Or if it is associated with a stopped instance or an unattached network interface. While your instance is running, you are not charged for one elastic IP address associated with your instance, but you are charged for any additional elastic IP associated for your instance with the instance. Okay, so one elastic IP is available in free tier and it will not cost you anything. You give us a case where private and elastic IP communicate. Yes, I will be demonstrating that to you in the lab when we will be configuring our VPC. So that will show you how elastic IP and how the private IP communicate. So don't worry about that. Later in the class, we will know how this is possible and what are the configuration for this. So elastic IP address, when you associate an elastic IP address with an instance that previously had a public IPv4 address, the public DNS host name of the instance change to match the elastic IP address. So this is the basic knowledge, basic information, and like every one of you know, if we are changing the IP subnet and if we are changing the subnet, then DNS also get changed. So that's why the concepts of subnet is very important. So now we are on the VPC, virtual private cloud. Basically, a virtual private cloud is a virtual network that closely resemble a traditional network that you operates in your own data center. With this benefit of use of scalable infrastructure of Amazon Web Service. So VPC is not a new topic to us. We all very familiar with the VPC, virtual private cloud. But in the AWS, what it means? when we are talking about AWS, we are already on cloud. Okay, then only we have two options, private or public. So simply, if we want if we want that our services and whatever our data is, it can be accessed by the public, it can be accessed by the anyone, or maybe some people outside of the internet and from the outside network, then we will go with the public. But when we are talking about private cloud, then we have some options and some different types. So there are different VPC wizards and different VPC configuration. So let's just quickly go on to that. A virtual private cloud is a virtual network dedicated to your AWS account. So it's just like a virtual network dedicated to your AWS account, and it is like some way it resembles the traditional network, the traditional way network used to operate in the data centers. So is simply you can make different subnets. Uh, let's say if you create a VPC, then it will give you a virtual cloud network over a region. And for example, if I'm creating a VPC in Mumbai region, then it will not give me VPC in a availability zone. No, it will give me a VPC in the Mumbai region. Then what can I do? I can create different subnet in my VPC, and I can uh, control the traffic, control the access on these different subnets. So there are different possibilities. It is logically isolated from one virtual network in AWS cloud. So it is isolated environment. You can launch your AWS resources such as EC2 in your VPC, and other resources also you can use. So you can configure your VPC by modifying its IP address range, create subnet, configure route table, network gateway, security settings. So this is what I was talking about. We can modify the VPC IP range. We can create different subnets. We can configure route tables, network gateways, security settings. So you can see it is giving us a lot of control, who can come in and who can go out, what kind of traffic can go out and what kind of traffic can come in, and who can be the part of the VPC, and what are the different subnets. So it gives us lots of control, and if you know exactly how to use it, you can develop a very good network which will enhance the productivity. So let me just zoom in. You can see this is the reason. Over here it is showing you this is the AWS cloud. The outermost boundary is the AWS cloud, and in it is the your VPC cloud. So you can see it is showing you that it is the region. So it can be any region: Ohio, North Virginia, Tokyo, Mumbai, Hyderabad, any region. This particular region has 3 zones. So Mumbai example goes well because Mumbai has 3 zones. So let's say this region is Mumbai and Mumbai has 3 availability zone. What will happen? My virtual cloud, I have a virtual private cloud over these 3 availability zone. Okay. And the main route table, whatever I create in this availability zone, let's say I create instances, I create subnets. So I I have to create a route table so I can create a gateway for communication. This route table will define the rules of the communication. When you create a VPC, you must specify a range of IPv4 addresses from the VPC in the form of classless inter-domain routing. So your CDR block you have to assign. You have to make sure that if you want the interclass routing have to happen, you have to assign that CDR. For primary example, okay, for our lab purpose also and for example purpose also, this one is given over here, 10.0.0.0/16. So this is your CDR block, and you can create subnets, you can configure public subnet, you can configure private subnets in it. And by creating different subnets, what you can do, you can apply different route tables, and by applying different route tables, by attaching different route tables to your different subnets, you can control the traffic, the traffic that is coming in, and the outbound traffic. You can control each and everything. So VPC configuration, in our VPC configuration, what are the different types of configuration is available? So in VPC wizard, there are 4 different type of VPC that you can launch. VPC with single public subnet, VPC with public and private subnet, VPC with public and private subnet, and hardware VPN access. VPC with VPC with private subnet only, and hardware VPN access. So there are different type of VPC. We will see each one of them. VPC with single public subnet. Your instances run in a private isolated section of AWS cloud with direct access to internet. Single public subnet, over here we have, let's say, our EC2 instances, our other volumes, and other services running, and all of these services and all of our desktop are accessible by the public network. Why? Because it is a isolated section, but the rule of anywhere to anywhere is allowed. Okay, so traffic that is coming from the outside can enters into the public subnet. So this is what is showing us here, over here, that VPC with single public subnet, your instance running in private isolated section in AWS cloud with direct access to internet, network access control list, and security group can be used provide SIG control over the inbound and outbound network traffic to your instances. So all outbound and inbound traffic is allowed, but if we want to configure some security groups, we can configure our security groups. But the this section of our subnet, this section of our is the part of public subnet. VPC with say single public subnet is where we are connected with the internet directly, and anyone from the public cloud can access our services. But the chance of it getting successful, let's say I want to RDP EC2 instance, then what I need it public IP address. And if I want to log in as a user, then I need a password, right? While we were logging in into our EC2 instances as a administrator, what was happening? We need to provide a password. Okay, so that's how we provide security in case of public subnet, but they are available to public, so anyone can access. Create a 16 network with 24 subnet public subnet instances. Use elastic IP or public IP to access the internet. So we can associate elastic IP and public IP to our public subnets. So anything you want that can be, you want that there are some instances in your company that are accessible to public, and you want public can come inside the network and visit all the instances. Let's say they are the servers over which you are running the web page, and you want that each and every one can access it. no matter where they are situated in this world. So what will you do? You will allow the HTTP traffic, you allow the web traffic over to your instance, and it is the part of public subnet. That's why anyone from anywhere can access it. But you don't want them to doing RDP to your system. Then what will you do? You will use the security group policy and decline the RDP traffic. You can configure the security. But in case you want that your service is accessible to anyone, and your service can go to the public network, and you can use the single public subnet VPC. So by default, we are using this. You know that we have a default VPC. By default, we are the part of this one. You can
So you
configure
mean whatever what we are using in EC2 normally is equivalent to this VPC with a single public subnet, right?
Yes, by default, they are giving us a VPC with a single public subnet. So this is like goes with the definition. As you can see, whenever you are creating the EC2 instances, you become a part of VPC group, and they are the subnets also you are part of. So whatever you are getting in the default section, it is given to you by the Amazon. So the model which resemble the default one is this one, single public subnet. Clear? Pardon, can you repeat
Okay.
yourself? Okay. Then see with public and private subnet, and additional to containing a public subnet, this configuration adds a private subnet whose instances are not addressable from the internet. Instances in the private subnet can establish outbound connection to the internet via public subnet using NAT. The this is the configuration we most likely will do in the lab. So we have our virtual private cloud, and we have two subnets in our virtual private cloud, which is the public and private subnet. So our public subnets are addressable from anywhere, but no one can address our private subnets because they only have the private IP, and because this subnet is our private subnet, and they are not visitable from the outside world. So there are two specific ways we can visit the private subnet, and if we want to do RDP and want to take control of our private subnet, and we will be looking at those two ways, and one of them is using network address translation, NAT. By doing NAT, we can configure that our public subnet, private subnet can also visit the NAT. No net traffic can go to the private subnet, but our private subnet can visit the internet. Let's say in our private subnet, we have some EC2 instances situated, and we want them to have internet connectivity. So what we will do? We will allow the net. Then what will happen? By the help of netting, they will be going out of the network. So for public subnet, the working is different. The working is different. We will see it in the coming slide. So just grab the concept, guys, for now. 16 with 24 subnet public subnet. Okay. VPC with another type, VPC with public and private subnet and hardware VPN access. So over here we have our public and private subnet, but this private subnet is accessible by the help of VPN only. Our virtual private network we will establish a virtual private network. We will set up a virtual gateway in the end of our private subnet and at the our corporate data center. So what will happen? These two devices will create a tunnel, and with the help of this tunnel we will be able to access securely. Okay, so if you have some highly confidential data, then in case you go with this kind of configuration, so this configuration adds an IPsec virtual private network connection between your Amazon VPC and your data center. So this is your data center in your office, and Amazon VPC, Amazon virtual cloud. So you will create private tunnel on VPN. So effectively extending your data center to the cloud while also providing direct access to internet for public subnet instance in your Amazon VPC. So for confidential data, this kind of configuration is in use. So you can see there are different type of deploying VPC, and according to your need and your data confidentiality, you can choose. Uh, Now VPC with private subnet only and hardware VPN access. So in this kind of configuration, we have our private cloud subnet, and we have a private subnet in this, and this subnet is only called by a VPN, which is connected to the corporate data center. So from our corporate data center, by the help of VPN only, we can call this subnet. So your instance running in private isolated section of AWS cloud with a private subnet whose instances are not addressable from the internet. Isolated section of AWS, your instances are running onto the isolated section which are not addressable from the internet. You can connect this private subnet to your corporate data center via a IPsec virtual private network tunnel only. So a 16 network with a 24 subnet and provision on IPsec VPN tunnel between a Amazon VPC and your corporate network. VPN is also a chargeable service, guys. So okay, so that's it for the theory, and we will looking at the different VPC services like subnet, route table, internet gateway, DHCP options, elastic IP, endpoint NAT gateway, peering connection, virtual private gateway, and customer gateway. So these are all the things we have to look when we are talking about VPC, and one of the very important topic is subnet. So subnet, we have seen that we can create private and public subnet, and for public it is very simple because in public subnet our public subnet is allowed to visit the network, and it can go onto the network, onto the internet. So our prior, so it means it is working very similar to our public network. And for our private subnet, what we have different ways to configuring our private network depending on to the security related configuration or any requirement we have in our company. So there are different way we can configure the private subnet, and we just have seen that only by hardware VPN and by the net. So let's understand the subnets and let's discuss this. A subnet is a range of IP address in your VPC. You can launch AWS resources into a specific subnet. Use a public subnet for resources that must be connected to the internet, and a private subnet for the resources that won't be connected to the internet. As simple as that. The subnet you want that is connected with the internet will be your public subnet, and the subnet you want that will not be connected with the internet is your private subnet. Public subnet, if a subnet traffic is routed to an internet gateway, the subnet is known as public subnet. So connecting with internet, what we mean that we have a internet gateway. Internet gateway means that we will be sending our traffic to the internet gateway, and internet gateway will send our traffic out to the internet. So the subnet is known as public subnet. If you want your instance in a public subnet to communicate with the internet over IPv4, it must have a public IPv4 address or an elastic IPv4. So for communication, we all know that having a IPv4 is must. If we don't have the IP address, then how will we communicate? Okay. So the thing we have to remember in public subnet is internet gateway. How we are able to communicate with the internet by the help of internet gateway. Private subnet. If a subnet does not have a route to internet gateway, the subnet is known as private subnet. Any doubt, guys?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Could you please repeat that again? From private subnet. Okay. So we have different we have two subnet in our virtual private cloud. We have two subnet, public subnet and private subnet. Guys, I can understand what is the confusion is about. In the one hand, we are calling it virtual private cloud, and in that private cloud, we have a public subnet. What is this? So private cloud, why it is a private cloud? Because that cloud belongs to you. You have your instances, you have your services over there. That's why. But in your private cloud, you have a public subnet. Can't you have a public subnet? If you want your instances to visit the internet, then you have to make them a part of a public subnet. Okay. So simple as that. If you want that your instance and your uh, EC2 visit the internet, they have a internet connectivity, then they sh- they become a part of public subnet. And if you want that your instance don't have, if your subnet don't have any route capability, then it will become a private subnet. So in public subnet, why we have internet connectivity? Because we are connected with the gateway, internet gateway. That internet gateway push our traffics out to the internet, but the private subnet is not connected with any gateway, so there is no connectivity. Public subnet is connected with the gateway. Clear, guys? Good. Subnet. So there are some specific network addresses, IPv addresses, that are not allowed in AWS. So once you are visiting these services more and more, then you will understand, like you will start recalling this. But for now, just remember that there are some IPv addresses that we cannot use. When you create a VPC, you must specify an IPv6 RDR block for your VPC. So you have to specify a block to which your traffic is addressing. So that allow block size between 16 net mask. So if you use 16 subnet as your subnet mask, what will happen? You have 65,536 IPv addresses. And if you do 28 bit subnetting, then what will happen? You have 16 IPv addresses. So according to your need of IP addresses, if you
need only 5 IPv addresses, then going with the 28 net masking is good enough. But if you require many like a good huge amount of IPv addresses, then 16-bit net masking is your option. So first 4 IPv addresses and the last IP addresses in each subnet block are not available for you to use and cannot be assigned to any instance. So what are the first 4? Is 0, 1, 2, 3, and the last one. Okay, so for example, if we are creating a subnet of 10.0.0.0, then what will happen, that our 10.0.0 is not in use. 10.0.0.1 is reserved by the AWS for VPC router. So your VPC has a router, and the first one will be reserved for the VPC router, and 10.0.0.2 reserved by the AWS, the IPv for DNS server. So now coming on to your third one, 10.0.0.3 reserved by the future use. So you just have to remember that first 4 and last one is not available for you to use. Whatever net masking you are doing, whatever subnetting group you are creating, you cannot use first 4 and last one. Okay. Amazon does not support broadcasting, so the last one is generally used for broadcasting, but it does not support that. That's why it is also blocking it. Route table. So route table is the table that consists all the rules of communication. So whatever traffic hit the router, and it will check the route table, and then after checking it, then it will forward it. So in the route table, we have to mention all the rules, and those rules will guide the conversation, will guide the traffic. You cannot delete the main route table, so there's a default route table present, and you cannot delete that. You cannot replace the main route table with a custom table. You can replace, okay, so you cannot delete it, but you can replace the main route table. But you can replace the main route table with a custom table that you have created, so that this table is default table each new subnet is associated with. Okay, so we have our main table, table A, route table A, and we have subnet 1, and the subnet 1 is the part of that table, and subnet 2 is also the part of that table. Okay, so it now what we have to remember, that both of the subnet can either be the uh, private subnet or public. They cannot be both. So both have, if we have decided, if we have described a rule in our route table that we are not allowing any traffic to go out, then what it means, then both of our subnet 1 and subnet 2 are private subnets. And in the second picture, you can see that we have a router and 2 subnets, and subnet 1 is connected with the route table A, which is the main one, and subnet 2 is connected with the table B. And in table A, I have mentioned a rule that the traffic of any to any is allowed. What it means, that it is have the internet accessibility now, because anyone from anywhere over the internet can communicate with my subnet 1, and my subnet 1 can communicate also, because I have allowed that in my route table. But for my subnet 2, I want it to be private. That's why I have declined all the traffic inbound and outbound. Internet gateway. An internet gateway is a virtual router that connects a VPC to the internet. So it's a virtual router that is giving you a connectivity between your subnets and internet. Default VPC is already attached with an internet gateway. So your VPC by default is attached with an internet gateway. If you create a new VPC, then you must attach the internet gateway in order to access the internet. So in your VPC, if there is no internet gateway, then it will not go out. The traffic will not go out. That's why in default, when we are creating a EC2 instance, there's a default VPC and there's a default rule also. So that's why there are default settings, because they are required. If don't have any internet gateway, then we don't send our traffic over the internet, because there is no gateway. That's why we have to configure a gateway if we want that our traffic visit the internet. So it is very easy to understand that internet gateway is we mostly will be configuring it onto our public cloud, because public cloud has the internet accessibility, not the private cloud. Okay, you have gateways. You can create multiple gateways, and gateways are chargeable. So in your free tier, maybe there's a limit of one or two, I guess, but gateway also charge uh, for data transmission. Now let's look at the picture and we will understand more about this concept. We have a region, and in this region, you can see this is the AWS cloud and it is creating a region. In this region, we have VPC. We have created a VPC, and our VPC is not on availability zone A or availability zone A. It covers both of them. If we have 3 availability zone, then it will cover 3 of them, because VPC, we create VPC on region, private IP and elastic IP. We have assigned elastic IP to what? To our EC2 instance, which is running in subnet 1. Subnet 1 with the subnet subnet mask of 10.0.0.0/24. Then route. Now coming to the route table, what are the route tables are allowed in our router? Local, destination local, that it mean that in the subnet of 10.0.0.0/16, it can access, it can communicate with anyone in this local subnet, okay? And 0.0.0.0/0, this is our internet gateway. So this is also added in the route table. Then it means this one is a public subnet, because internet gateway is configured. Now what will happen? Whatever traffic we want to send, it will whatever traffic we want to send from this EC2 instance, what will happen? It will hit on the router's port. Then router's port, what will it will do? It will forward it to the internet gateway, and internet gateway then forward it to the internet. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes, tell me.
So here, when you're saying a router and the internet gateway, is it also an EC2 instance with a router image on the top of it, or is it like a real, the routing or the router literally?
Okay, it surely gives you a real routing capability. And about the hardware part, it's like AWS is deploying it and it is giving you all the routing capability. So it does work like an actual router, or exactly like a virtual router for you. So
We,
yes,
we could log into the router, and we could definitely check all the routing and everything. Is it like that?
yes. For
Okay.
that,
Okay.
okay. So you will have your router. It will give you routing capability, services like route table. And when we will in the lab, we will check out what you have asked for. But for now, do we
Sure.
have interface on
Thanks.
virtual
Yeah.
router? Yes. Do we have an interface on virtual router? Your virtual router is giving like it's in between your cloud, your subnet, and your gateway. So it is giving you the connectivity. It is acting like an interface between your all the instances, all the net requiring services that you are running in your subnet. It is acting like a gateway, and it is providing you internet connectivity because router is connected with internet gateway. Any other doubt, guys? Diagram, EC2. Okay, router has the route table and the capacity. It will have the IP addressing and each and everything. But for accessing the router, you have to do the configurations. Then you will be able to access. It is only like when I will be doing the lab, then I will be able to clear it out for you guys. But it do have the IP, and it do provide us the connectivity. It's just like an actual router, nothing else. But if it is acting virtually, because we are not have any hardware access on it, but all the software things we can do. So interface, your router interface, you will see your router interface, you will see each and everything in the uh, settings. So you can configure it according to your need. So when we will be doing the lab, you will get the proper idea. Okay, it's just like an actual router, nothing else. Anything else, guys? Any doubt?
Nope.
Okay, so before concluding the session, I just wanted to ask, like, what is the internet connectivity? Like, are you guys able to hear me properly, see the screen properly? Is it fine, working fine now?
Yeah, only sometimes the voice gets garbled for a little moment on.
Okay, okay, okay. Then it's like we are working on it. Now we have the good internet connectivity. That means we can rush up our course. So from your side, guys, what I want, lots of practice. Do lots of practice, and we have covered EC2. So go again and again onto the console and configure multiple EC2 instances missing on previous session. Okay. Okay. Uh, I have already talked with the management and I have words with the management. I have let them know that you guys were asking for the previous recording. So, like it's now in their hand, and if I get any word, I will forward it to you guys. But for now, I don't have access to the recording. Otherwise, I have shared it by now, but unable to follow sometime. Okay. I will make sure that I will, inform them again today that there are some students who are lag behind on these syllabus. That's why they want the recording. So if you want another, if there's another way I can help you out, please do let me know. If you want some topic to, you want me to clear it, I can do that. But for recording, I have to let them know. Okay, guys. So yes, do lots of practice and before logging out from your console, make sure you remember in which region you are working and how many machines you have created, and make sure you terminate them. And if you are not terminating them, make sure you at least pause them. And in case, like, if you guys want to go ahead and explore elastic IP also, the topic we have discussed today, you can do that. And tomorrow we will be mostly, like, most probably we will be doing the lab, and there are some concept on theory we have to cover, but tomorrow we will configure lab and do the elastic IP and VPC. Okay, so be on time, guys. And
Tomorrow it will be class, like it is Independence Day.
if maximum of you guys can attend, then I have no, like, I don't have any problem giving the class, giving the session. But if you guys are busy, I can give you off.
Is
We are
this
okay.
No, we are not busy.
Okay, guys, then it just
is the link
yeah,
going to be the same, the Zoom link, or is it going to change?
I guess is it going to be the same Zoom link.
Okay.
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 Otherwise, where do I have to look for the Zoom link? In which group? I mean,
No, it will be the same one. Don't worry about that. So
okay.
tomorrow, it is 1 hour we guys do, but everything depends on your practice. So do maximum practice. Any thing you find difficult and any difficulty you are facing in configuring any service, just let me know. We can do that in lab. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, please, those that I don't know, though I missed some class anyway. I don't know if there's any previous lab I haven't done by the class. Can as well give me the topic so I can work on it on my own.
Okay. Just give me a second. I got a message from the management. Let me check it out. What they are telling me about the recordings.
Okay.
Guys, the management is telling me that you can ask for recording to your team administrator. Have you asked them?
Okay. I would like to have the previous labs so I can work on them. Just the topic and cool.
Yes, no problem. And if you want, I can give you a little overview over to the topic tomorrow, like just a little overview, and all the recordings you can ask from your team administrator. Yes, WhatsApp you can ask who's team administrator. You in your WhatsApp group you have that person who is sending you all the links, right? The link for the meetings. You can
Yes.
just let them know that you want the recording also. Yes, I do have a LinkedIn ID to connect. I will share that in group, okay? So any further doubt and any question, guys?
Thank you.
Yes, you will get the previous previous lab. There's we have just covered one service, so don't worry. It's just very simple service, and once you will be seeing the labs and seeing the recording, you will get to know that it's very easy to configure. So it just today we don't have the lab. Tomorrow, when I am on the console, I will give you a little overview. I will show you few of these things. But for the main purpose, you can ask for the recording, and that will help you out. So I think, guys, for today's lesson, I think we have done enough. So practice on your own, and any doubt, just note that doubt, and we will visit that in another lecture. Okay, but make sure you are doing your practice, and you are making notes of your doubt and all the area you are facing difficult. You just have to make sure that you are bookmarking it so you can do progress. Okay, so after discussing, you can discuss that with me. You can watch some YouTube videos, you can go to the Amazon documentation. So there are many resources. You don't have to depend on me or like only YouTube videos. You can directly go to the Amazon. It will tell you how to configure its own service. So just try it out. Okay, thank you, guys. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.